How do you stop cringing at your embarrassing past? I've learned to ignore the feeling and move on when I know it's coming. Everyone is too busy with their own shit to care about yours to remember all the things you've said or done. Didn't actually think about this, but I genuinely can't remember much of what other people have done or said that is cringeworthy. I just remember the shit I've done. Your cringe means you've grown. Must mean I've grown a lot. 'Cause man, I cringe daily, and often so hard it's paralyzing. Think of your 5 most embarrassing moments. Now think of your best friend's 5 most embarrassing moments. I bet that thinking of your own came really quickly, but thinking of your friends took a while. And for a colleague or acquaintance you might not be able to think of any, even though they will all be able to think of their own 5 embarrassing moments just as quickly as you thought of yours. Basically, these little things aren't a big deal even though your brain will try to trick you into thinking they are. My life got a lot less stressful when I realized that. I mean, I still lie awake in bed at night replaying awkward conversations to myself and thinking why the FCK did I say that? Comma. But at least rationally I know it doesn't matter to anyone but me. Joke about it. Underrated advice. Having a sense of humor about it can help you stop thinking of these experiences in such a negative way. You could even try and bring them up or recite them to a friend when they come to mind. Then it becomes something that you own, rather than something you're desperately trying to hide. When the cringy memories come up, let them come up. Remember them from start to finish. Even if it's a bit painful to do so. Experience all the feelings they bring up, and work through those feelings. Write them down in a journal. Maybe even confess them anonymously on Reddit. Grow and change in reaction to them. And then you can let go of the memories. Eventually you internalize that the past is in the past. And you're free. As long as you actually grow and move on to new, different embarrassing moments. The chaos of the present. I do my best to block it all out. Try staying distracted 24/7. I recommend the opposite. Work through the memories. Experience them fully. And internalize that they're in the past now. A lot of the perpetual cringe comes from the same few bad memories rising up against your will, getting pushed down, and coming right back up again. Realize and accept that no one else really has their shits all together. So life goes on. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to strive to be better than my previous self all the time. I started saying to myself so what? Whenever I would have a thought about when I was stupid. Who gives a shite like no one else has ever done anything dumb is another one I would say. Defend yourself against your inner bully and eventually that cringe turns to something closer to indifference. I just wanted to say I do this and I hate it. But it was helpful to me to read these. Thanks everyone. The only thing I've ever heard that made sense was, pretend it was happening to someone else. A friend you know. Would you be so hard on them if it was someone else? Because unless it happened in the last couple of days, it really was someone else. You're not the same person. When I was 14 I jacked off, and finished, in the electronics aisle at Target. Now when I think of this I cringe so hard. So I just go on my phone as a distraction from that. I talk about her in third person. To myself and otherwise. I don't really know her well anymore. But I love her. But God was she stupid. Just try your best to remember 2 things about those memories. 1. You're probably the only person on earth who actually remembers those moments of yours. Sure. There will be people who might remember 1 or 2 odd moments because they were right there when they happened. But overwhelmingly your inventory of cringe memories is out of stock in everyone else's minds. 2. If it seems cringe now, that means you've grown. And that's a good thing. Facebook memories of status updates I posted 13 years ago when I first got on that site in college are barely recognizable as me to myself now. I decided to face the cringe head on. I laid in bed with my eyes closed and no music on and let any horrifying memory wash over me and experience it to the fullest. I started doing this almost daily. Anytime a cringe moment popped up, and if I was able, I'd take a few moments to explore it deep. Each time I did this, the memory was no longer cringe. Sometimes it became a story I could laugh about. It took all the power away. Realize that everyone does embarrassing stuff and that I'm probably making a way bigger deal out of it than anyone else is. Oh. Yes. I remember when a memory of something stupid I had said came up, and I was with this friend who had witnessed it, and when I mentioned it to her, she couldn't even remember. I started to understand that it was only me who thought what I said was embarrassing. She didn't find it embarrassing, in fact. For me, usually a handful of different things work. Remind myself that everyone's got stuff they're embarrassed about. Breathe deeply and try to focus on breathing. Yes. I went through the free trial of Headspace and then stopped. So it's not exactly expert level meditation. But the basic focus on breathing thing actually works to help clear your mind. Try and focus on something else, like try and remember the lyrics to that song I heard yesterday, or go over the grocery list, or whatever. I try to force my brain to go down a humorous path to teach my brain to associate embarrassing feelings with a funny comedic bit. I've heard some people suggest just think of the Seinfeld theme along with your issue and it'll automatically become humorous. I just did that, but with different stand-up routines that I've come to enjoy over the years. Working pretty well so far. By trying to remember the old proverb that a man cannot step into the same river twice. The river will not be the same river, not will the man be the same man. Meaning that life keeps moving on and we need not be stuck in the past. Whenever you get an embarrassing memory, try and sing over it. Oh god, in 8th grade I accidentally farted in front of karma chameleon. You come and go. You come and go. Oh. Realize how boring of a life you'll have if all you do is obsess over your past. Would you rather have a cringy life full of experiences or sit inside the whole time and do nothing? Accept that humans make mistakes. Forgive yourself for doing something you wish you hadn't. Talk about the lesson you learned from the cringy moment, and most importantly, let yourself get bored with punishing yourself for your imperfections. You learn from it. You can look back at who you were then and learn your vital lessons from the past, and you can look forward to the person you're trying to become. You're going to grow and change. All you have to do is accept yourself for your shortcomings and work on how you're going to improve yourself going forward. You accept it, integrate it into your personality and move on. The past is the past. Don't look back, you're not going that way. You don't. Specifically, random moments love to pop up at 3 AM when you weren't originally thinking about them. Take yourself a little less seriously and laugh it off. Learning to say who cares? When you care up or goof is not only being nice to yourself, but also lets the people you're with know that you wouldn't judge them if they did the same thing. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let your head relive it in its entirety, then tell yourself it happened, but it's in the past and I've grown from it. Obviously don't close your eyes if you're driving. When I have a memory crop up that gives me the cold sweats, I start writing a descriptive paragraph in my head of everything I see around me. I focus on being as detailed in my description as possible. It usually drives that unwanted memory back out of my head pretty quick. If you can learn something from it, it is never wasted. A lot of life is screwing up than learning from that. That's why pencils have erasers. OP. Everyone makes mistakes. Some Buddhist once said, don't prolong the past. Don't invite the future. Don't alter your innate wakefulness. Don't fear appearances. Double quote. I'm not really sure on the last part, but the rest seems relevant. It's not easy to be here now, but once you get the hang of it, the world opens up and your anxieties and neuroses become a little less prominent. There is just something genuinely peaceful about the present. There comes a time when you realize you're just tired of beating yourself up all the time. I still have cringe moments, but they're not nearly as intense or as frequent. You feel bad. Notice you're feeling bad. See if there's any residual regret or something like that. If there is, seek a solution to resolve your grief. If there's no grief, then it's all good and know that you chillin'. Example of seek resolution. Maybe you were supposed to run 1 mile, but stopped 3/4 because some chicks were like, look at that fatty. You feel embarrassed and went home. Now you feel bad. To resolve it, either realize those are bitches and you don't give no fucks about any bitches who bully others, or finish the mile and FCK bullies anyway. If you aren't cringing at something in your past, you haven't been living your life. You should be proud you're out there doing something. If you cringe, it means you've changed, grown, improved yourself enough to realize what mistake you may have made. God, I used to keep myself up at night all the time thinking about cringy or embarrassing things I'd done said years in the past. I would just spiral and keep bringing in other things I'd done until I was a complete mess. Finally, I started doing this thing where, when I remembered a cringy memory, I would basically clench my fists really hard, as if I was holding on to the memory itself, and then let it go and envision it floating away in the wind. I still think of those things sometimes, but I just acknowledge them and move on. If they pop in my head while I'm trying to fall asleep, I'll tell myself, okay, I did something silly. It was a long time ago. There's nothing I can do about it now, so I'm going to let it go. Essentially, I'll acknowledge them, but I don't give them permission to take up residency in my brain for a long time. You fight fire with fire. You create the ultimate cringe so that you can only remember one cringe event. I used to cringe at plenty of things in the past, not only in the bed but any time in the day. Then I partially failed my year because I played for a week instead of studying for a test that I could easily pass. I got 9/20, 1 point more needed to pass, and this overshadowed every cringe event in my life. Reduce the amount of cringing at others and the amount of cringing at yourself will also go down. Not meant disparagingly. Similar theory, the people that wear sunglasses when it is unnecessary are usually the type of people that tend to consciously read other people's eyes and they want to protect against others doing the same. Act like a predator to learn how to avoid predators. Source: none. My own opinion. I don't. I just don't let it rule me. It's sort of like whatever the cringe equivalent of bravery is. Bravery ISN about not having fear. It's about accepting that fear and doing what needs to be done regardless. Accept the cringe. Acknowledge that it happened. Take a beat to cringe and move on. Bonus points if you recognize that you've grown from the cringe into a better person.